Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 6th. Over the next few days, we will have an increase in winds and drier conditions across the Great Basin. After significant lightning yesterday in the northern areas, we will have an increase in winds with decreasing relative humidity starting from western and northwest Nevada up into central and eastern Idaho and Wyoming. This area in brown will see the strongest wind gusts between 35 and 40 or 45 miles per hour. And then we will see somewhat less wind gusts down in this orange area, but still between about 25 and 30 miles per hour, with occasional gusts above 30 miles per hour. We do anticipate significant impacts to our current fires up in Idaho today from this wind and drier conditions, and also expect holdovers from the recent lightning. Otherwise, thunderstorms will be pushed eastward over the eastern side of the Great Basin, and then over the next 2 days will be pushed further south and on the wetter side. Winds will continue on Wednesday over central and eastern Idaho, Wyoming into northern Utah, and then will continue along the Sierra Front on Thursday. Lightning again was significant over Idaho, Wyoming into northern Utah and northeast Nevada, and these thunderstorms did produce some rainfall in spots where there were some areas, especially in southern Idaho, that saw 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch. But again, it was very spotty with these heavier amounts of precipitation, and back into central and southwest Idaho, we did not get as many heavier rainfall amounts. Down in Utah, thunderstorms continue, and we're on the wetter side. We did see more reports above 1/4 of an inch down there. Otherwise, Great Basin fire activity yesterday was moderate to high with 54 new fires for over 24,000 acres. The majority of that occurred in Idaho from that lightning. The last 7 to 14 days, we've seen moisture over central areas of the Great Basin with thunderstorms, but otherwise the periphery of the Great Basin, especially in Utah and Nevada, and pockets of Idaho and Wyoming have been on the drier side. ERC percentiles show that well. We are still seeing some ERCs above the 80th to 90th percentile in the north and on the eastern side of Utah, and more moderated in central areas from those thunderstorms. Otherwise, a look at our ERC charts up in Idaho, where we saw the lightning yesterday and the emergence of new large fires. ERCs are near the 80th percentile and will be fluctuating probably on the upward side with drier and breezy air moving in. Northwest Nevada, similar conditions. Otherwise, 10-hour fuel moisture is still very low across Nevada into southern Idaho, so our grasses certainly susceptible, and even our brush and 1,000-hour fuel moistures are still on the low side, although some areas that have seen moisture have been moderated. The satellite image from this morning shows the broad high pressure in the southwest and the weaker trough moving into the Pacific Northwest, so in between these two features is where we'll see our increase in wind over the next few days. Smoke conditions, we will continue to have smoke from the Pacific Northwest and our incidents move across, especially the northern half of the Great Basin. So for today, we do have a large area of high risk for these gusty winds and drier conditions from northwest and western Nevada up into Idaho and Wyoming. So definitely a significant impact for our ongoing incidents, and we do again expect those holdovers to pop up today in the drier air and the winds from the recent lightning. Otherwise, fire danger and fire potential will be moderated over southern Utah and the Arizona Strip. Relative humidity today from the single digits to the teens across northwest Nevada into southwest Idaho, and teens in most other areas. And you can see the depiction of the winds, more of a southwest to westerly wind gust. We will have some northwesterly winds up in Idaho. As we move into Wednesday, the dry air continues across Idaho. The winds push further east, so we do have high risk a little bit further east on Wednesday. And then we see a lot more single-digit relative humidity across the northern half of the Great Basin with this drier air. You can see from the wind gusts will not be as strong as what we'll see today, but we will see gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour in much of Idaho into northern and western Nevada, and probably 30 to 35 miles per hour in western Wyoming, down into the Uintas and the northern Wasatch. For Thursday, the high pressure ridge starts to dominate a little bit stronger, so we will see those winds subside, except for maybe along the Sierra Front. Moisture spreads north in northern Utah, so we'll continue with thunderstorms in the south. Relative humidity moderates a bit, but still low to mid-teens. And you can see from the wind gusts, still those breezy winds along the Sierra Front, but definitely decreases across Idaho into northern Nevada. We will see those gusty outflow winds in Utah, so you can see where those thunderstorms will be located on Thursday. And the 3-day amount of precipitation, just showing those thunderstorms the next few days, mainly in Utah. Otherwise, very spotty other areas. So move into Friday, that moisture really starts to spread north, so wetter conditions going into eastern Nevada and Utah, and this will continue going into the weekend. We could have some breezy winds up in central Idaho for the weekend, so again, something to pay attention to going into the weekend. Otherwise, continued moisture for the eastern side of the Great Basin going into early next week. 7-day precipitation shows that increase in moisture across Utah, so better chances of wetting rains for Utah coming later this week, going through the weekend, and then very weak chances up north as we go later in the period with that next weaker trough. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows generally warm conditions and drier in the south. We'll see if this above normal materializes later in August, but for the present time, not expecting much moisture for the northern side of the Great Basin. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.